take roll.
Mayor Mangarelli,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Orr,
Here.
Councilman Blair,
Yes.
Councilman Good,
Here.
Councilman Lamerson,
Here.
Councilwoman Scholl,
Here.
Councilman Sischka.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Councilman Good to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in pledging allegiance to the greatest nation on earth.
Thank you. Okay. I want to thank my fellow council members for making time today for a last-minute meeting here. Appreciate you guys all accommodating your schedules. I know it was not easy to do, but thank you for that. I would like to recognize a few people in the crowd that I've noticed, and please help me. I don't want to miss anyone. I want to thank Yavapai County Attorney Sheila Polk for being here today. I see the former mayor and the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, Rolly Simmons. Thanks for being here today. Supervisor Craig Brown. Let's see. I also saw former Councilman Chris Kuknio. And who am I missing here? Am I not seeing somebody else? Oh, Phil Bordone with the county. Rolly pointed you out. Sorry there. Linda Gray, former representative. Thank you, Linda. Senator, sorry. Okay. What we're going to do today is consider a statement regarding the racially disparaging remarks made by David Stringer on November 19th at ASU. I'd like to read that statement, and then we're going to allow the council to speak to that statement, and then we'll take a vote. We're not doing public comment today, and I know some people are disappointed in that, and I understand that. We are limited on our time today, and so we're going to keep it just to the council. But here's what I would tell you. It's very important for each one of you to use your own platform to take your own position and make that known in our community. So you could do that today in public comment, but since we're not doing public comment today, I would ask you that in whatever group that you find yourselves, in whatever leadership position you have, if you have a stance and want to take a stand, then do that in our community. Let me read the statement. As a city council, we request David Stringer resign his position as state representative immediately. He can no longer effectively represent Prescott and Yavapai County and must step aside to allow for a suitable replacement prior to the 2019 legislative session. His abhorrent words do not reflect our city or our community, and while we condemn them, that word, any word, is not strong enough to express our disdain. As proud members of this community, we are horrified that the opinions expressed by Mr. Stringer exist. Prescott prides itself on respect, honor, tradition, and the physical embodiment of the spirit of Christmas. Mr. Stringer's misguided, outdated, and offensive opinions reflect poorly and inaccurately on all of us. Our front porches don't discriminate based on the color of someone's skin. Neighbors are neighbors, visitors are visitors, and friends are friends. Clearly, Mr. Stringer does not represent these foundational values. Today, I'm before you wearing 3 different hats. I actually have a few more than that, but today I'll just talk about 3 different hats. First, as the mayor of Prescott. Secondly, as a resident of Prescott. And finally, as a father. As the mayor of our great city, let me begin by saying that the Constitution of the United States of America gives David Stringer and all of us the right to speak our beliefs, whatever those might be. However, as one of our elected representatives to the state legislature, Mr. Stringer's beliefs should be in keeping with those he represents and should not be detrimental to our community. By email, text, phone call, and personal interactions, I've been inundated by Prescott residents who are outraged by Mr. Stringer's recent comments as recorded in the local and Phoenix press. I believe most would agree that Mr. Stringer's comments do not represent who we are as a community. For more than 2 decades, Prescott has been rated as one of the best places to live and retire Our economy depends on this constant influx of new residents and tourists to be vibrant and diverse. In addition, our city has an active program to bring high-tech companies and new businesses to the area, the latest example being the Israeli company Aviation. Mr. Stringer's recent comments have caught the attention of the media, casting a dark shadow on our great city. Yesterday, I was made aware of an article that he has even appeared in the British press. The media reach on this is worldwide. Although Mr. Stringer is entitled to his opinions, in his recent remarks, those opinions are harmful to the image of our community and those who work and live here. Speaking to you as someone who has lived in Prescott for many years, Mr. Stringer's comments do not represent my values, nor the values of my family. Each person has a unique value in this world of ours, and that value is not determined by the color of their skin, their religious belief, how they look, or their country of origin. Lastly, speaking to you as a father, two of my children are Native Americans. Two of my children are Native Americans, one of whom has severe hearing and speech disabilities. Although Mr. Stringer might consider her someone who does not blend in with our community, my family considers her a treasure. By his own words, Mr. Stringer has defined himself as someone who is out of step with our community. He has mortally wounded himself and disqualified himself to the point that he will be ineffective representing our issues at the state legislature. He has forgotten the moral compass of our great country that was so eloquently memorialized by Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. All men are created equal. Some might question the validity of this governing body taking this kind of stance. This is a unique situation that calls for unique action. I hope today's action gives others courage to stand up and tell their stories if they have been discriminated against or trodden upon. This is not a partisan or nonpartisan issue. This is a moral issue that needs to be addressed by all of our leaders in our city and in the greater region. I ask the City Council to join me in adopting a statement demanding that Mr. Stringer resign his position as a representative of LD1 immediately. Okay, thank you. Now, at this time, I'm going to ask our council members to each make a statement, and then after each one has an opportunity to make a statement, then we will take a vote. And I'm going to start with Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate your leadership on this matter. When I first heard about Representative Stringer's remarks, I was very disappointed and thought to myself, here we go again, another black eye for the city of Prescott, Yavapai County, and LD1. Then I read the remarks several times, listened to the recording several times, and came to the conclusion, along with Mayor Mingarelli, that our city council could no longer remain silent. We needed to make a statement against these disgusting words. Silence is complicit. The mayor and I spoke late Friday afternoon and early Saturday morning. We decided to consider taking a stand against Representative Stringer's racial rants and make a statement. I contacted my fellow council members on Saturday morning, told them of the mayor's and my decision, and asked if they would support a statement coming from the council. The contents of the statement were not discussed except with two members, Mr. Lamerson and Mr. Good. Immediately following these brief conversations, I called John Palladini, our attorney, on Saturday morning so that he would be aware of our desire to come forward publicly with some sort of statement. I wanted his advice on how to proceed. He informed me that I may have inadvertently created a potential open meeting law violation. That certainly was not my intent, as the need for an immediate response to Mr. Stringer's remarks was my only concern. I saw my conversations with my fellow council members as coordination, simply leading the effort to get something done as soon as possible on a weekend. Once Mr. Palladini told me that the coordination of a question about a possible statement could be perceived as a violation, I requested that we hold this public meeting today so that the Prescott City Council could go on our record with a fundamental disapproval of Representative Stringer's remarks. May I agree 100% with your statement, and I love your Keisha. And I'd like to expand on the economic impact of concerns caused by this situation. Prescott usually gets many accolades for our welcome, friendly city and tourist attractions. Today and this past weekend, we are in local, state, national, and international publications, television news reports, and radio. Jim Robb, our economic consultant, has reported that he has received many emails, texts, and phone calls from his contacts and friends from Fortune 100 companies, national and state organizations, venture companies, cyber companies, in Boston, Austin, Seattle, New York, Washington, D.C., Phoenix, and Tucson. These are companies that we have sought. These companies have to be very careful when it comes to these types of comments, especially by government officials. The basic question to Jim has been, what the hell is going on in Prescott? Our city has worked hard with our colleges and universities. We brought 22 cyber companies from Israel to Embry-Riddle for a conference. Having an aircraft company, Aviation, choose Prescott to make their their U.S. headquarters. We partner with Embry-Riddle and their students from around the nation and the world. We as a city have national and international citizens of the world in our community. Excuse me. These comments are not reflective of who we are, and I want to assure our business partners that we welcome their businesses and we welcome their partnerships. Finally, it's a very sad comment that we sit at the dais 2 days after celebrating Christmas lighting at the Courthouse Plaza and lighting the menorah on Sunday. Prescott, after all, is everybody's hometown. Emphasis on everybody. Because after all, no matter what our skin color, religion, or gender, we are all created in God's image. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilman Sischka.
Yes. You're looking for a comment from me? This is not my favorite thing. If it weren't for Representative Stringer, we wouldn't be sitting here. You know, I read a book in my early 20s, and it talked about the messenger being a strong part of the message. And I think that Representative Stringer's gotten to a point now where he is a huge part of the message that he tries to portray. And one of the things that has stifled, I think, down at the legislative level is people trusting his credibility because he is the messenger. And I think that we need a strong representative down in Phoenix, a strong representative that's going to reflect our values, that's going to reflect the city of Prescott. I know that his district is much larger than the city of Prescott, but in the news reports that I've read, they talk about Representative Stringer as being a Prescott hometown boy. So this is a huge part of Prescott. I have to tell you that when Billy called me up the other day, I was really hesitant because, number one, I didn't want to make Representative Stringer a martyr. And number two, I didn't want equivalent arguments to be dealt with on a consistent basis. I do think that we are approaching this in the right way. I don't feel that Representative Stringer can effectively represent us down at the state legislature. Thank you. I appreciate that. And so my comments and my conclusion are written by Representative Stringer. Like I said, if he wouldn't have said what he said, and this wasn't the first time in this vein, we wouldn't be sitting here. So, Representative Stringer, you wrote this commentary. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I would like to remind the audience that while the council members are speaking, I do ask for decorum and quiet in the audience, please. Thank you. Councilwoman Scholl.
Thank you, Mayor. I have experienced a lot of consternation over this for the past few days, and I'm disappointed that David Stringer has put us in this position. It's not fair to us, nor to the people of Prescott or Legislative District 1. As stewards of this city, we not only have a responsibility to lead this city into the future, but we have a responsibility to protect our city from threats, and David Stringer is a threat to our community. He is a threat to our moral being, to our reputation, and to our ability to be economically competitive. Mr. Stringer's words about race and
guilty and you twisted his words. This is a disgrace. I will not listen to these disgraceful, despicable.
I need to reiterate that there will be no tolerance of anyone speaking while someone at the dais is speaking. So please be respectful of those that are speaking up here at the dais.
Mr. Stringer's words about race and ethnicity are not representative of the Prescott I know and represent. I have long thought that Mr. Stringer is morally flawed and not fit for office, not only because of his words caught on tape, but also because of my personal experiences with him. What Mr. Stringer has said is racist, ignorant, and will no longer be tolerated. David Stringer has damaged our community's reputation, and it is frankly embarrassing. People not only in Arizona, but throughout the nation and across the world, think that Mr. Stringer is representative of the people of Prescott. Prescott has a reputation of being everybody's hometown. We work hard to be a city that welcomes any and all, and Mr. Stringer's racist words and behaviors are not illustrative of our community. Lastly, this city and community has worked tirelessly to attract diverse industry, and with diverse industry comes diversity in people. Mr. Stringer has threatened that through his racist and exclusive words. We are excited to welcome new industry and people into our wonderful city, regardless of their race or ethnicity. With that being said, I will support a resolution by this council condemning Representative Stringer's words and asking for his resignation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Lamerson.
Thank you, Mayor. Originally, when I was approached on this whole topic, I said in no way would I ask for David Stringer's resignation. Having reflected back on my family and who we are, most of you know that I'm not medically able to serve the country in the military, but my whole family has. My whole family have put themselves in harm's way for everybody in this great country, regardless of who they are. As a matter of fact, my sister-in-law is Japanese Filipino. My nephew is Native Hawaiian. At the end of the day, President Lincoln in 1864 designated Prescott, Arizona, the first territorial capital. And at the end of the day, it was President Lincoln that led us into a war to separate us from the discriminatory actions of slavery. I, at this time, will support the resolution that's been put forward by the mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Good.
Yeah, I have also prepared a statement, and I gave a copy to our city clerk. So I'll read it as I wrote it. Mayor and fellow council members, I believe this issue is not within the scope of responsibilities that this nonpartisan council body should be involved in. Although we as elected officials share a constituency with Mr. Stringer, we as a council did not vote to elect him. He is directly responsible to the voters, and they have the responsibility to recall him over this issue if they choose. They reelected him by a large margin with the understanding of his concerns about assimilation of immigrants that were widely published last June prior to his November election. I know David reasonably well, and I believe he is not likely to resign due to this council's action. He didn't last June when the governor and the chairman of the Arizona Republican Party asked for his resignation at that time, so he's not likely to do so now. Make no mistake, I do not condone his statements or beliefs as expressed in the ASU student comments, regardless of the unethical way they were surreptitiously recorded. Even if Stringer's effectiveness as our state representative is diminished, we will most likely lose any support we might need from him during the next 2 years of his term in the legislature. By taking this action, and that will damage our ability as a council to do the best for our city and its citizens. Consequently, I choose not to take a position on this issue for those reasons, and I would prefer to abstain from a vote on it. However, since an abstention vote must be recorded as an affirmative vote according to our city charter, my only option is to vote no. I hope that my vote will not be interpreted in any way as approving or condoning his comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Blair.
Well, as most would know, I always generally have plenty to say. And I think at this time, I haven't had a chance to do a prepared statement. That's usually not what I'm all about because I always screw those up somehow. But anyhow, I don't have a prepared statement, and I would just say that the only comment I have will be shared in my vote.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to make a motion that we adopt this statement on Representative Stringer asking for his resignation immediately.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Please vote.
Councilman Lamerson? Passes 6-1.
Okay, thank you for that. I'd like to leave us. Thank you. I'd like to leave us with this quote from Edmund Burke. "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." This meeting is adjourned.